any fictional characters have ever cemented themselves as the feminist icon quite like Wonder Woman. Sure, Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, Beatrix Kiddo, Seeley, and Princess Leia come to mind when we think about strong female characters, but none of them are the quintessential Wonder Woman, and in a medium that is, at best, a boys' club, and at worst, a sausage fest, Wonder Woman brings some desperately needed estrogen to the state of affairs. None of us here at the Comics Quest are astute feminist scholars, but we find Wonder Woman's history and cultural impact fascinating. We would even go so far as to say Wonder Woman is the most complex character in all of DC Comics. For some house cleaning, Wonder Woman was a response to the unfulfilled potential of comic books, according to her creator, Dr. William Moulton Marston. She first appeared in All-Star Comics number 8 in 1941, and starred in her own title the very next year. Marston was a very unconventional man for the time, first coming to the public eye for creating a precursor to the modern-day lie detector or polygraph. He was an open feminist, believing women to be the superior sex, loved him some BDSM, and lived a happy life with his happy wife, Elizabeth Marston, and their life partner, Olive Byrne. Elizabeth inspired Marston's creation and went on to become an editor of the Encyclopedia Britannica, precursor to the internet. Olive was the daughter of the progressive-era activist Ethel Byrne, who helped open the first birth control clinic in the United States. Olive also had a penchant for wearing a pair of metal bracelets. Yes, the trio were in an intimate polyamorous relationship, eventually raising 4 children together. Progressive times, I know. But remember, Marston based Diana, Princess of Themyscira, off of the 2 women he loved, and art imitates life. With all that in mind, let's think about Wonder Woman's genesis. Male fantasy or feminist icon? Well, beauty might be in the eye of the beholder, but let's talk about it anyway. It should come as no surprise that, at the time, porn comics were very popular. Prior to the advent of Playboy magazines, comic books were often really your only hope. But sex was never the selling point in those early issues. Instead, sex is the selling point of the character, and how sex informs power structures and social bonds. In the first issue of her debut series, we are shown that Wonder Woman's origin is inspired by Greek mythology, and is symbolic of the battle between masculine and feminine forces. In response to Ares' warring, raping, and pillaging tribes of men, Aphrodite created the Amazons. However, Aphrodite's chosen people were betrayed by Hercules, and the goddess saved the Amazons and found them a new home on Paradise Island. There, Aphrodite teaches Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, how to sculpt a child from the sands of their new home. With that, the child, Diana, grows older and discovers a crashed pilot off the shore of Paradise Island. She actively defies centuries of law by bringing the man ashore and nurses him back to health. At the same time, Aphrodite seeks out Diana to become a champion for the world and do her best to end World War II. If you can't tell, things moved quickly in the Golden Age. The early Wonder Woman issues are great. Comparatively speaking, they had more going on in them than Superman or Batman's early appearances, and featured better art and more realized characters. They are also chock full of historical and literary references. Even Diana's name is a callback to a lesser-known Greek god. Diana is a virgin goddess, protector of childbirth, and a triad of 2 other Roman deities, Egeria and Verbius. Imagine that! Wonder Woman being inspired by 2 women. But for as progressive as Marston was for the times, it was still the 40s, and what might have been intended as progressive hasn't necessarily aged as well. And that's probably why Wonder Woman is in a fairly subordinate position to Steve Trevor throughout the Golden Age. Which is to say, Steve Trevor took a problem, any problem, pointed a Wonder Woman-shaped cannon at it, and then that problem was gone. But in the coming years, she would assert herself as the female comic book character. But for Marston, there seems to be an intrinsic connection between sex, truth, and power. To unpack that, almost every conflict Wonder Woman faces is due to her sex, and the gender roles she is expected to fill. With most early plots boiling down to, you can't do X, you're a girl, or you have to do X, you are a girl, Wonder Woman then subverts the given misogynistic presumption against her to further her own heroic cause. Or Wonder Woman just does what Steve Trevor asks her to, because 1940s gender roles? But that isn't to say sex is what gives Wonder Woman her power. Yes, her costume is obviously provocative, but for Themyscira Wonder Woman, her outfit is deeply cultural, and it is man's world that sexualizes her. Even still, Wonder Woman's comfort with her sexuality is the foundation of her comfort in telling the absolute truth. For the most part, Wonder Woman has been on the correct side of every social issue in American history since her inception. Or if not, she has a better track record than most politicians. Wonder Woman has spoken truth to the powers of the patriarchy, authoritarianism, institutional corruption, sexism, racism, and bigotry for decades. If we're being honest with each other, it can be hard to tell the truth, let alone all the time. That is Wonder Woman's constant struggle. Discovering the truth can be hard, accepting the truth can be difficult, and telling the truth can feel downright impossible. This is why the lasso of truth is a GOAT tier comic book weapon. The lasso of truth illustrates that it is one thing to be able to physically best an opponent, but to get someone to expose their unfiltered innermost thoughts on any given topic is a type of vulnerability most people are afraid to share. Wonder Woman's comfort with her own sexuality makes everyone feel more vulnerable. Most DC characters have a profound respect for Diana because of her capable leadership skills and her status as a warrior. But what often goes undiscussed is her position as the confidant of the DC universe. Whenever people have problems or need advice, Wonder Woman is one of the first people they go to because she embodies the truth. She's comfortable in her skin and makes people feel comfortable in theirs, inspiring them to tell their truth. But let's not get too sentimental and make no mistake, Wonder Woman is a powerhouse. Like really quick, Wonder Woman trained Batman. Batman even asked Wonder Woman for her blessing before marrying Catwoman. Wonder Woman chose not to kill Superman out of mercy. She led the Justice League through the gates of hell, thwarted a war between superheroes and ancient gods. In a crossover with Marvel Comics, she picked up Thor's hammer before Superman found out that she was actually the god of war. In the post-apocalypse, she makes a meteor hammer by threading her lasso of truth through the spinal column and skull of Superman. At one point, she started her own Justice League with Blackjack and hookers, and then, after saving reality like reality had never been saved before, Wonder Woman declined a position as an omnipotent god, believing she still had work to do on the mortal realm. That's the level of power we're dealing with here, folks. Wonder Woman will fight until her last breath, but her version of power is not as simplistic as brute force. More often than not, Diana will work to prevent conflict rather than actively engage in it until she absolutely has to. Look at her weapons, the lasso of truth and the bracelets of submission. In essence, they're both defensive tools. But if you have only seen the movies, well, let's just say the movies will never talk about where those bracelets came from. The bracelets were Aphrodite's way of forcing the Amazons to remember the horrors inflicted on them by the world of man. A concept which gets darker and darker the more creatives have explored it. Figuratively, the bracelets are to the Amazons what the cross is to Christianity, a symbol to reflect upon their suffering to reach transcendence. And Wonder Woman will voluntarily suffer anything to genuinely benefit the world. Again, she turned down being a god to do the work you would think the gods were already doing. For all her power, Wonder Woman consistently suffers betrayals and losses. And yet, Diana confronts her foibles in total truth. And when reinforced by her sexual liberation, it is easy to see why she is the indomitable Wonder Woman. Like any tentpole comic book character, Wonder Woman has a very dense history. And this wasn't a deep dive into her canonical background by any means. George Perez's run on the character from the 80s is arguably the most famous run on the character. That said, for us here, Greg Rucka, Gail Simone, and Brian Azzarello have written the best Wonder Woman stories of the 21st century. And this is our opinion, but Adam Hughes seems to do the best at depicting the graceful force the Princess of Amazons would exude. So, feminist icon or male fantasy? Both? Neither? See, the answer is truthfully less important than the character in her totality and what she has come to mean to millions of people. In any eyes, Wonder Woman is beautifully complex. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Comics Quest. I've been Feminist Action Jackson, and we can't wait until next time.